Hey, how's it going? It's Carl, aka Carl Drum Tech. I'm here right now, somewhere in West LA, and today I want to talk about the topic of balancing out school academically and drumline and marching band and that sort of thing, right? So I'm sure a lot of people struggle with this kind of thing, right? You're in school, obviously as a extracurricular, you are doing marching band or drumline or color guard, and as you do this extracurricular activity, it gets harder and harder, especially with the demands, especially of a really competitive group or just a program that is very committed, right? In order to stay focused on your studies academically, it gets harder and harder to balance out both to make sure that your grades don't suffer as a result of this activity. Now, obviously, for a lot of you guys, it can be having bad grades can have a lot of consequences. You can either be ineligible to be in the program per your school rules, or your parents may say your grades aren't good enough and I'm not going to allow you to march unless your grades are good enough. Now, the question has been posed, right? It's like, how do you balance both? How do you make sure that you keep up with your academic responsibilities while at the same time making sure that you stay committed and make every practice and not falter in your responsibilities for the activity itself, right? So, and I've had to deal with this so many times over the years, over my teaching career, in terms of just getting students to make sure that they balance out both so that they can do both effectively. Now, what I tell my students is, especially if we have a situation where they have to be eligible, right? They have to have a certain GPA or whatever in order to march the program. I always tell them, like, this is your responsibility. As part of this program, you have to make sure that you keep up your grades so that you can do the activity, because what good are you to us if you can't keep those grades up, because you're gonna get kicked out of the program, right? Whether that's by the school or the program itself. So I always tell them, you gotta make this happen. Whatever you gotta do, make it happen. Make sure you keep your grades up so that you can continue to do the activity, so we don't have to pull you out for anything, so that the school doesn't pull you out for anything. But how do these kids do it, really, right? So I mean, let's just take one example, one extreme example of a student I had. He was the drum captain, right, for this year, for this one season. And the thing is, he's also at the same time very studious, and his parents have high demands on him as well. All right, let's call it what it is, right? So he's Asian, right? So he's definitely looked upon to make sure that his grades stay up like a straight A level, as he's doing like honors classes and AP classes, things like that. He needs to make sure that he keeps up those standards while at the same time maintaining his duties as a drum captain for my program. Now, not only was he able to make sure that he was at every rehearsal, every single gig, he never let school be an excuse for him not to be anywhere that we needed him to be at for the program. He still maintained straight A's through all his AP classes, all his honors classes, and he made it happen. Now, how did he make it happen? Well, some of you guys may not like this. Some of you may not be able to process this or be able to understand or even be able or capable of even doing this, because what it took great sacrifice. For him, what he told me was, I just don't sleep. Like, he literally just does not sleep that well, to the point where he feels like it affected his growth physically, right? So to where, like, he's a short dude and he didn't really grow that much and he stayed short, and he feels like it's a lack of sleep in his development stages that the lack of sleep basically didn't allow him to take advantage of that growth spurt that is available to you when you're young, and he just stayed short. Now, I don't know what the correlation is. It probably is possible that is exactly what happened, but it took great sacrifice in order for him to make sure that he maintained his grades and at the same time keep up with his responsibilities to the program itself. But here's the thing, guys, what I'm going to tell you right now is that anytime you need to balance anything out, anytime you want to do like a few things great, it comes at great sacrifice, whether that's sleep, whether that's your social life, whether that's just maybe other activities or hobbies that you might be into. You have to set those aside. You have to say, I can't do that, and basically commit yourself to the things that are really, really, truly important to you. Some of you guys may not like that. Some of you guys may think, no, I cannot make that sacrifice. I cannot sacrifice sleep. That makes sense, right? I mean, obviously we all need sleep, but the point of this is that whatever you want to do in excellence, and if you want to commit to it full force, you have to make some sacrifices, and that is just the reality of the situation, right? So like I said, if you have to give up, you know, some social life, if you have to give up some sleep, if you have to give up some other activities that you love, that is what you need to do in order to make sure that you stay committed and do things at a high level for the things that you really want to do. Take me for example, right? So Carl Drum Tech, I'm really committed to that. I want to make sure that I put out good videos, good informational, you know, like resources for you guys. And at the same time, I have a full-time job, and you know, I try to maintain a social life. I have a girlfriend, you know, so it's like all these things I have to balance, but I have to sacrifice certain things in order to make sure that I do things at a very high level. And that might mean, you know, I might not hang out with my friends one day. It might mean that I might sacrifice a day of working out, you know, even though that is also really important to me, right? So I might sacrifice a day of that. I might sacrifice, you know, like other things that I like to do, you know, in order to make sure that I have the time necessary to make stuff happen for Carl Drum Tech, to make sure I don't slack off at work, to make sure that I am committed to you know, my family responsibilities, like, you know, having a decent social life, you know, and it's just all a balance in my head in order to make sure that everything works out, so there's plenty of Carl to go around, and that is what I need to do. And if at some point I need to make more sacrifices to, you know, basically pump up other things, that's what needs to happen. And if I'm not willing to make that sacrifice, then some things may not be as high level as I'd want it to be. Does that make sense? All right, so that's the reality situation. In order to balance things out, like for example, school and drumline / marching band / color guard, you have to make certain sacrifices. You have to look deep within yourself to figure out what it is you're willing to sacrifice and make it happen. All right, so that's my message for you guys today. Hopefully, you know, obviously it is, no matter what, it's gonna be a hard choice, I understand, but you know, you have to search within yourself, find out what's truly important to you, find out exactly what the big picture is of what you're trying to accomplish, and you're going to do just that. You're going to create all the actions you need to create in order to make sure that you move towards the big picture goal that you're trying to achieve. Does that make sense? All right, cool. So hopefully you guys, you found this video helpful. If you liked it, please do me a favor and like this video. If you have any questions about it, or if you have suggestions on the new video I should make sure you guys leave that in the comments below. And if you have not subscribed yet, make sure you guys subscribe. I put out these videos every single week. Like I said, trying to put out some good content for you guys. So please make sure you subscribe so you don't miss a thing. And finally, if you feel like this video can help somebody else, make sure you share this video with them so that they can benefit from the knowledge and the ideas that I have as well. Okay, cool. So I'll see you guys next time on the next video. Peace out. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, take care. All right, guys, let's talk about sound quality. All right, so what do we mean by sound quality? Sound quality meaning you have a good quality sound when you hit the drum. It's not necessarily something that's louder. It's just the sound has a full body sound, and there's a couple ways to achieve this. And one of the things I learned is from somebody who I marched with, who ended up marching the Santa Clara Vanguard back in 1999. Now, he's a tenor player, and he kind of broke down the techniques that he used, that he learned, that is probably, you know, they probably came from like Murray Gessick and, you know, and Jim Cassell and things like that, right? So he learned these techniques, and I've certainly taken them to heart since he showed it to me back in 2000 or 99 or whatever it was, and it truly did open up my sound and created a better quality of sound after learning some of these ideas. And hopefully that's what I'm going to share with you today. Now, part of it too is also influenced by all my, you know, all the knowledge that I've accumulated over the years, and I've just kind of like put it all together to develop my own kind of approach in how to teach good sound quality. All right, so one of the things to think about is that you want to think of the stick as like a hammer, right? So obviously when you think of a hammer, there's a heavy weighted end at the end. Well, the way you want to think, obviously with a stick you don't have a hammer. It's not a weighted tip at the end. If anything, it tapers down to something smaller. So what you want to imagine, you want to think of it like the full force, right? that is coming from your arm, coming from your hand, coming from your stick, it's going to all focus here at the end of the stick. So you're focusing all that energy when you downstroke, right? So you're gonna focus all that energy to the tip, and you're gonna try to make it, you're gonna try to drive that energy as if you're trying to play through the drum and to the floor. Does that make sense? All right? So like a hammer, all the energy, all the weight of your hand, your arm, the stick, combined. Put it all here, right? And drive it through the drum, not on top, as if you're trying to play through the drum. If you think of like martial arts, right? I'm sure they train you to hit somebody. They're not gonna train you to just hit the surface of the person. You wanna try to drive the force as if you're trying to go through what you're hitting. It's the same kind of concept for drums, so that when you hit the drum, right, it just creates this like very strong sound. Not necessarily louder, but just something that's just has a little bit more body to the sound. Right? That's the difference between hitting hard and having just a nice, good quality, full-bodied sound. Okay? Now, another thing to think about, right, is you want to think of the hand and the arm. Put that together and combine that with the stick so that the stick becomes an extension of your extremity, right? So it's one big arm, basically, right? So this is part of your arm, and that is also going to help create that connection so that the energy flows through and goes to the tip, right? Another thing to think about, right, is that if you want to have a full body sound, you want to make sure that the stick resonates, all right? So in order for the stick to resonate, you need to make sure that you don't close your hand to dampen the sound. There needs to be an opening, right, to make sure that the stick vibrates. That vibration is what gives it a full-bodied sound. Because if you close it up, the sound is just not the same, right? Okay, it just fills up. I mean, obviously I'm out here in the open, but it just fills up more, the sound takes up more space if I keep an open hand, which allows the stick to vibrate more. So all those things combined with everything I just talked about is what's going to create, in a general sense, good sound quality. All right, today is the day that I show off the results of my 30-day challenge. The 30-day challenge was to improve my left hand swisses after practicing for 30 days in a row for 5 minutes a day. Let's see, let's take you back to my first day before I started practicing. All right, so let's see if it made a difference. I think so.